Distinguished friends of Thomas More, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello. Don't scare me like that. I thought I was back in class with them for a minute. I'm here to present the class of 1994, but I'll tell you the truth. Initially, I really did not want to do it for a variety of reasons. Those are unimportant now. But it was some things that was said to me by my students that got me thinking maybe I would try to tackle this project. There were things that, when they were said, I thought I should try to set the record straight. I sort of rewrote this morning because I was dealing with futuristic issues in my earlier speech, and I didn't really feel I could deal with their future until I cleared up some misconceptions, misperceptions that they had about their past. So, here we go. What's the date today, Mr. Morgano? Come again? I believe you're right, Mr. Morgano. Leaving you with 0 days, but you still have an assignment. You may not have any classes, but you have an assignment. Now, don't look at me that way. I told you back in August, we go to the end, and that's today. Now, you heard my greeting, distinguished friends of Thomas More. That's not the traditional way of starting this. I'll have to explain that later. So if I need to be reminded of something up here, I want you to tell me 2 rules. Because there's 2 rules for the real world. And if you remind me, say 2 rules, and I'll probably remember to explain why I did that. Now, as I said, some students got me going on this project, specifically 3 students. The first was from my 8th hour class. Liz Wiesner. Couldn't you just die, Liz? It happened during a grammar review session, which is how we start every class. And during this period of time, students can talk amongst themselves and help each other out. And I heard what sounded like an argument coming from the back of my room. So I wandered back to see if there were any survivors, and I found they were discussing this guest speaker business rather heatedly, as a matter of fact. And Liz turned to me and said, "Mr. Herman, are you going to speak for us at graduation?" And I said, "Probably not." And she said, "Oh, but you have to speak for us. We're just like you. We're in trouble all the time, too." Thanks, Liz. Believe it or not, I have received a hearty endorsement or 2 in my life, but nothing quite as inspiring as that. Unless, of course, it was what came from my 7th hour class, courtesy of Jill Litkowski. Hi, Jill. Jill was very upset with me when I said I probably wouldn't speak. Matter of fact, she blurted out in class, and if you've ever heard anyone blurt out in class, this woman can blurt out in class. "You mean you wouldn't speak for us if we asked you to?" Not likely. Well, she came about a week later after school to critique an essay, and when we were done, she said to me, "You really should speak for us, Mr. Herman. It would be so easy for you. You could just get up there, tell some lies about us, how great we are, and we'd all be happy." Yes, Jill, lying is my thing. I do sense a compliment in there somewhere, but where? Well, the third student to get me going came from my homeroom, and that was Adam Trainer. Hi, Adam. This happened on the day they were voting for guest speaker. Adam was very upset when he saw the ballot, and he asked me, Mr. Herman, isn't the idea of a guest speaker having someone you don't have to listen to all the time anyway? I said, well, I think so, Adam. I told him, absolutely. You should demand a guest speaker. Well, about 30 seconds later, he still hadn't made his choice, and it was like a light bulb going off over his head, you know, like in the cartoons. If you saw my homeroom, you'd know why I said cartoons. He said, hey, isn't graduation being held in a church this year? Then I said, well, yeah, I believe so. And he said, big smile, oh, well, then you qualify. You'll certainly be a guest there. Thank you, Adam. Nice name, Adam. I'll bet your parents had to search real far into the Bible to find that one. Talk about a guest. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You know why I was chosen. I have all the qualifications. I'm a guest, and I'm basically a great liar who's in trouble all the time. Who better to speak for the class of 1994? Well, did you hear what I heard between the lines of their statements? It sounded to me like a very definite undercurrent of unworthiness. We aren't much of anything. So I asked a few other seniors, what do you think of your class? And I got answers like this. Oh, we're not much. We haven't really done anything. I mean, it's not like we're great or anything. No one will remember us. And I thought, how sad to work so hard for so long and not feel that you had accomplished anything. I mean, when I graduated, I remember what we felt like. We thought we were the greatest thing since sliced bread, you know. Maybe that attitude isn't so good either, but not so negative. Of course, this happened at a very rough time of the year for the class of 1994, about the end of the third quarter. You were floundering, definitely. You were loaded down with papers and projects, and it looked as though you were going to fold. Very simply, you did not feel very good about yourselves. And it seemed to me like you were behaving just like that one foolish servant we learned about in that parable we looked at when we were doing Milton's sonnet on his blindness. I don't know if you remember that sonnet or not. But Milton, oh, of course you remember that sonnet. What am I saying up here? You memorized it. Milton uses a play on words with the word talent. Now, for those of you who are guests like myself here, I'll review that parable of the three servants. Milton alludes to it. It's from the Bible, Matthew, the book of Matthew, and I'll specify for our religion teachers, 25, verses 14 to 30. It's about a master who's leaving on a journey, and he calls his three servants together, and he gives them talents. Well, talents is a form of money. Obviously, that could be anything, right? So the first servant gets 5 talents, and he makes 5. And he gets a reward. The second servant gets 2, and he makes 2, and he gets a reward. Well, the last servant got only 1 talent, and he did not want to use his talent. He was afraid to take the risk. He didn't feel he measured up to the others. And that is precisely how you were acting. I had one senior tell me, you didn't deserve to be here with the great classes that have gone before you. I was very worried about you, But then, you came back after Easter break. You started working. You were helping each other out in your classes. You were helping each other out with your research. You were proofing each other's papers over and over again. From a teacher's viewpoint, that was truly a joy to see. Fortunately, you pulled it all together and you finished in style. And what did you accomplish? Well, I polled many of your teachers, and while I can't repeat some of the things that were said to me about you, matter of fact, I think I said most of them, everyone seemed to come up with the same two talents that really stood out and defined your class. The first one is that you were people persons. You really cared about each other. Oh, you didn't love everyone in the senior class, but you got along with each other. You could work with each other. The second thing was, everyone said it, you were hard workers. Your accomplishments? Well, some are records of sorts. Now, these are your teachers, coaches, and moderators speaking, okay? I talked with some of them. Let's see, here's our list. Most students to try out and be chosen recruiters. Most volunteers to be big brothers and big sisters. Most students running for Stuco reps and officers. Most tour guides and greeters for open houses. Most events sponsored and run, 24. Most money, food, presents raised for the Gifts from the Heart program for the poor people. Most hours given for service projects. Teachers noted the following: outstanding creativity in fine arts productions, excellent attitude towards group work, fine ability to work effectively in groups, willingness to experiment to solve problems. Someone said, they think. I like that one. Excellent cooperation, and I really like this one too. Nice group of people who are able to converse with adults. We're so sorry we don't converse very well. Thanks for carrying us along. And I guess I'll have to put this last one into the aesthetics considerations column. Most talent for toilet papering the ground. Oh yes, there is one more. Our school, and perhaps the English department, has a reputation for being very demanding, almost challenging at times. Well, this year we had a first. All students who opted to work through their English projects passed senior English. That's never happened before, until today. Now that just shows you what determination can do. And when I found all this out, it occurred to me that you did understand the message in that parable. Simple message, right? The message is contained in the two successful servants. It's not how many talents you have that's important. What counts is what you do with the talents you've been given. And you apparently set records. So, not to worry, you deserve to be here. You earned the right to be here. You belong. That's what you did best. You belong. Now, as long as we're cleaning the slate, as it were, I have a couple things I'd like to get off my chest about you, class of '94. One is your very mistaken view of the research grading. Some of you apparently thought you'd been cut some slack so that we could actually get some people here to graduate today. You could not be more wrong. You met the same standards that every other great class to go before you had to meet. Now, I knew that because I knew three things you probably did not. One, I would not compromise myself. 2, I would not compromise the English program. And 3, I would never compromise you or your education. So you will simply have to accept the following facts. You were terrified by that project. You had heard about it for 3 years. You'd certainly talked about it for 1 year. And then you stopped talking. You started listening, started learning. You did what you were supposed to do when you were supposed to do it. You performed and you achieved. So don't go saying things that aren't true, because that's not right. Oh, but you were right about one thing. Something had changed. I just don't think it was me. Now, the second thing that bothers me about you is the way you look at me with those accusing eyes of yours every time I call you hard workers. I know what you're thinking. Oh, sure, we're not brilliant. We just work hard. Question. What's the difference if the results are the same? I don't understand. Or to put it into your terminology, I don't get it. Let me tell you something about being a hard worker, class of 94. When you get to the real world and you get a job, if they criticize you because you're working too hard, if they take something out on you for doing extra work, would you please, oh baby, please, come back to your old English teacher, Mr. Herman, and tell me all about it. I promise you 2 things will happen. 1, I will apologize to you. And 2, together we're driving to where you work. Because I'm applying there. I'm dying to have someone tell me I'm working too hard. Hey, Greg, lighten up, man. Be cool. You're working too hard. Relax. Say what? Okay. Now, I could be wrong. I am every day. But I don't think it's going to go down that way, class of 94. You're going to have to trust me on this one. Being called a hard worker is a good thing. So listen to it, like it, and get that look out of your eyes. Enough said. Now, wasn't someone supposed to remind me of something? Oh, you do have a style all your own, don't you? I sure would like to know where you got it. Well, you're right. There are 2 rules for the real world, and you've already botched rule number 1. Rule number 1 is easy. Rule number 1 says, never, under any circumstances, for any reason, never give an English teacher a microphone. Are you nuts? I mean, that's like, fire! Quick, get the gas. A microphone. You don't do that. Well, you did better on rule number 2, though. Rule number 2 says, if you're going to start something, finish it, like you did today. I will take a lesson from you. When I came up here, I greeted people as distinguished friends of Thomas More. That, of course, is not the traditional greeting. Usually you address each individual group, right? Like distinguished graduates, honored parents, faculty, etc. Well, I lumped everyone together, and that was done to honor you. You see, one of your great achievements was the way, at the end, when you were pulling it all together, you set your own individuality aside to help your friends get through what I think is a very tough school. certainly one of the toughest in town. Now, I know this is going to shock you, but I find it personally very difficult to set my individuality aside for a group. That's a surprise, I know. You, however, were able to do that. So today, for you, we will all be simply distinguished friends of Thomas More. Now, before you leave, I would like you to take two things with you. They're both thank yous. First, thank you for teaching me. And second, thank you for allowing all of us to teach you. You were certainly worth it. And I'll close on a personal note. As late as December, I was convinced this would be one of the more forgettable years of my teaching career. Instead, what happened was, it turned out to be the most memorable one ever. I want to thank you personally for asking me, of all people, to present you here today, this most special day for you. I am very proud to speak for you, with all you have accomplished, but more importantly, because of who you are as people, I consider it a wonderful personal compliment. Thanks, classmate. Thanks.
As recruitment director of the school, I'm the very first person to see the students' names. I feel very honored to be the last person to read their names. The class of Thomas More High School, 1994. Melissa Ann Abbott. Andrew James Agaki. Ashley Ann Agaki. Mark J. Eminson. Juan R. Avalos. Betsy Marie Baer. Teresa E. Barron. David Thomas Betcher. Kevin A. Bednarski. Rosa Acela Berumen. Julie Diane Bigler. Michelle Ray Bizub. William Julius Blank. Erin Nicole Brady. Brenda Elise Bruce. John Claude Busateri. Richard A. Campos. Patricia A. Cerconi. Amy Jo Christensen. Nicole Janine Cienciola. Eric D. Chepluk. Stephen David Claflin. Ben V. Crivello. Marlo V. Cruz. Michael B. Danasich. Brian J. Dorr. Shannon Marie Donahue. Adam Sean Drake. Joseph Michael Emery. Michael R. Irby. Zachary Richard Berger. Nicholas M. Galashevsky. Courtney Ann Gallagher. Brian A. Garstecki. Griffin George Glapa. Kristen Marie Griever. Beth Ann Boozy. Courtney Jane Hossey. Kate Elizabeth Hackbart. Emily Jane Fieberhagen. Suzanne Elise Harto. Gerald Edward Pegaman. Scott B. Height. Angela Lee Hayden. Jeremy Robert Iwan. Jessica Lynn Jacoby. Michelle Lynn Janis. Jason Donald Janis. David M. Jansky. Sarah Elizabeth Yankee. Amy Rose Johns. Kevin Charles Kizmerick. J. John Carrot. Julie Ann Kessler. Brian Keith Kestner. Daphne Jean Keyes. Paul John Kilt. Gregory Ellen Klusman. Nicole Catherine Klug. Jennifer Lynn Kohansky. Jim F. Progatevich. Joel B. Kopp. Thomas Ellen Kapodlowski. Janie Marie Kowalski. Karen Louise Krieger. Nikki Joe Lambrou. Catherine June Leckley. Jeremy Adam Lineberger. M. Megan Lewinsky. Deborah Ann Libby. Jill Marie Letkowski. Angela Lynn Lankowski. Rebecca Rose Loris. Kevin J. Lipsky. Jose Armando Luna. Stephen J. Majari. Gregory Stephen Mellon, Jr. Paul E. Marshall. Mario Ruben Martin. Katie A. McCarthy. Brian J. McManus. Timothy Andrew Meyer. Lindsay Ray Mitchke. Angela Nicole Molly. Thomas Andrew Moore. Carl Morgano. Michael E. Merstick, Jr. Michael Eric Miller. Kelly Ann Marashevsky. Stephen J. Morawski. Gregory J. Myers. Christine A. Newman. Amber Lynn Pellin. Nicole Marie Paradiso. Catherine Ellen Pedriana. Joshua M. Pagorch. Thomas Andrew Perlberg. Jason Lee Peterberg. Jesse M. Peterson. Brian David Slaney. David Daniel Platt. Andrea Marie Hugo. Lori Beth Rabinek. Michelle Lynn Radulovich. Becky Marie Rayner. Paul Tay Rayner. Paul R. Rasmus. Brian James Reese. Erica Lee Wright. Mary Catherine Remington. Daniel Edward Revelinsky. Ellison Leah Rose. Dina Romero. Christine Ann Rosek. Megan Marie Rydetsky. Brian K. Scheib. John D. Schlatt. Timothy Andrew Schneider. Ellen R. Schultz, Jr. Kelly Ann Sellers. Kelly Sue Spangler. Christine J. Stanford. Julia Ruth Starzak. Carrie Crystal Stucker. Nathan Paul Stoiber. Sandra Lynn Swinsicki. Jeffrey J. Wozinski. Michael Ellen Sinowitz. Stephen Jerome Tarkowski. Adam J. Trainer. Richie A. Traxel. Joseph P. Trojan II. Scott John Chiviatowski. Elizabeth Rose Urquhart. Mark Ellen Van Gorder. Brian Douglas Veely. Brian J. Ward. Robert Andrew Weber. Anne Marie White. Joshua John White. Elizabeth Monica Wiesner. Jason M. Michelle Erin Wisniewski. Susan M. Woloda. Corinne Marie Wojcik. Stephanie Amber Wood. Lisa Marie Stansky. James Andrew Zawada. Jason Zen. John Thomas Zalecki. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the newest alumni and alumnae of TM94.